Last week, we had an issue where we were not on the same page. What does on the same page mean?
Just kind of doing life together, doing the days together, doing each of our individual tasks, but knowing that we're working towards the same, moving in the same direction.
Would you say that not being on the same page is more more of us being roommates or partners? It's kind of like devoid of the intimacy of our just in all areas of being of one mind,
Yeah,
thinking about one another is.
it's definitely more of an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's easy. And so when we go off the same page, if you will, that usually, for us, it looks like we're still communicating, but we're talking about the business of the household.
Yeah.
Kids things, financial things, tasks that need to be done, projects. We still are talking about our day, what do you need to do? What do I need to do? Those kinds of things. But I'm not really sharing my heart.
Yeah.
Or I don't feel like I can share all of my heart, or there might be a hurt that either I'm not really aware of, or if I'm aware of it, I haven't shared it with you. Yeah, I think that's how I would describe it. How would you add anything to that?
No, and that's what I kind of meant by kind of missing the intimacy. We're so very focused on ourselves and what we're doing, and there's nothing wrong with completing your tasks. And I was not purposefully avoiding you or not thinking about there wasn't anything I was actively pushing against or saying, well, I'm not going to worry about Kara right now. I'm just focusing on myself. But by not intentionally thinking about how's Carrie feeling or what can Carrie, we don't, there seems to be maybe a little bit of a distance, or things don't seem to be as warm and fuzzy. I don't really like those terms, but there's something missing there.
Well,
and you
there's
just kind of write it out.
definitely an affection missing.
Affection,
Wouldn't you say?
yeah. So all those things kind of wrap up in my mind to that idea of intimacy, just that closeness of relationship. We weren't having a closeness of relationship. We weren't rude to one another. We weren't avoiding or, like I said, just saying, "Oh, let them worry about themselves." We were still as a family and we're communicating, as you said, but we just weren't. There wasn't a closeness of relationship.
Yeah.
So what are the? It doesn't have to be 5 or 3. It doesn't have to be a specific number. But for wives out there, what would be your? These are the keys to success. When you feel like you're not on the same page.
Well, I think the wife needs to. Every woman is guilty of those mental conversations, and those are dangerous because believe that's really where the enemy can be very active. He's telling you that your husband thinks this or believes this, and only in recent years have I been able to stop a mental conversation and say, no, that's not who my husband is. And when it's in your head, you believe it, and our minds, our feelings, they frequently lie to us. And so those mental conversations are not good. But don't take that conversation to a friend. Take that conversation to your husband. The husbands need to, and the wives too, we need to be able to hear what the other person is thinking and maybe not react to exactly what was just said. Because I know that if I tell you what I think that, if I talk to you based on what I'm feeling, if I've just had one of those kind of mental back and forth with you, I'm sure that your feelings are going to be hurt, or you're going to be caught off guard because, number one, you're hearing about this topic for the first time, and number two, you're being accused of something that you didn't do. And so a good open communication is really important, and not being defensive. That's for both couples, for both people. But I think it's also really important for the wife to make sure that she's talking with her husband in a way that she's being heard. Because it's when you have a lot of kids, when you're both working, just doing life together, those conversations might happen in the middle of making dinner, or they might happen while you're driving in the car. And so your husband may not understand that this is a moment that he needs to be fully present for. And the wife needs to be able to say, I need your attention. I need you to stop doing something else. Can you look me in the eye? Those kinds of things. No, she needs to know what's important to her in regards to being heard, and she needs to be able to articulate it to her husband. And I think it's also really important to not be afraid of making sure she's heard. I remember early in our marriage when we were dysfunctional, I remember I was just really afraid of creating a fight or ruining our weekend or whatever. And there were so many times that needed to be done. And now, thankfully, it's not going to ruin our weekend. But it is uncomfortable. And there's definitely times that you feel like it would just be easier to watch TV after the kids go to bed than have this difficult conversation or do the hard thing. But knowing that it's necessary to hash through, because it's only going to get bigger, it being the space between you. And it truly is a snowball. And when it comes to Christian marriages, it's definitely an area that Satan works at. If there's one little thing, and maybe it did stem from something that you say in the morning in passing as you're headed out to the door to work or something, and I'm left with that, and you aren't even aware of what you've said or the effect that it's had on me, and then I'm even more aware of, say, the household projects that we've talked about that haven't been done, or the fact that you haven't made your bed. Just really, these are things that normally wouldn't even. I'm just giving these I'm giving them as examples. Those aren't things that I normally don't faze me at all, but they can if you have that space between you that hasn't been dealt with.
I think it's important for husbands, number one, to make their wives a priority. It's very easy to have work or tasks be the priority, and wife needs to be the priority over kids, over everything. Even if you're involved in ministry, your wife, you are called to love her sacrificially, and she needs to have utmost of importance. You have a relationship with the Lord, and then you sow into your wife. You don't neglect your wife. I think that happens a lot, which can sow these cords of discontent and can create space to where you're never on the same page. There might be people listening to this go, I don't even know what being on the same page means.
Sure.
And a piece of that starts with, is your wife a priority? Don't wait first of all, for your wife to come to you. You go to your wife first. You be the one who reconciles or finds those issues, which is why I sometimes maybe go overboard with that question of, is everything okay? I've learned not to press if you say it's fine. And that's kind of the next step is, if you go to your wife, and number one would be make sure you have regular times together. Date nights. They don't have to be outside of the house, but they need to be times, like you said, instead of watching TV, sitting down talking. Create those environments where you are connecting on some way, talking about your day or pieces of your day or things that you learned, or asking the other person how they're doing. Create that environment of conversation, because that opens the door to real communication instead of just that hi, how you doing, like you do at everyone in church on Sunday. It's really opening that door and saying, I do want to hear you. You also want to make sure that you don't press your wife. Don't try to fix it. Don't listen with ears that are slow to listen because your mouth is quick to want to respond. I need to make you my world. So that idea of listening and giving and not taking it defensively. Man, if husbands could just learn not to take things personally and be defensive about it, to just listen, because what you're feeling is true. Regardless of what I've done, you're feeling something and you need that to be validated. Is there something I need to change? Maybe not, but maybe so. But I'm not really going to know that unless I'm really understanding what you're saying and listening and allowing you to express that. And sometimes that means hearing things that kind of hurt, that maybe I don't know that I did something that led to you feeling that way, But I just don't take it personally. I give you grace. I say, well, I know my wife, and she's a good woman, and she loves the Lord, and she loves me. So she's feeling something right now that's attached to me, and I don't want her to feel that way. So how can I help you or support you through that? I'm not trying to fix it, but just realizing it's not all about me. And as men, we try to make it all about us, and that's a big thing that we can learn as husbands, is just to not make it about us, and just listen.